G'day guys, welcome back to another video with Enno here from Fantasy Take TV. Today we'll be going over the round 18 score and sort of round review and maybe look at a trade that I'll be doing for this week. But before we get to that, just like to share yesterday I was at the President's Lunch for Hawthorn, which was sort of always planned, and I think Jeff Kennett's sort of final address. He's retiring at the end of this season, but a big part of it was Paul Deer's Dare to Hope campaign with Cherie and the family. So there was almost 600 people there at the G yesterday, and it was a great day, sort of celebrating Paul's life and more importantly raising some money, which I'd checked before. Just when I got home, there's been over 180,000 raised so far. I think the goal is 250, but of course, as much as possible is ideal. So, Cherie said it yesterday. The main message and reasoning that they even did this was just to spread the awareness of pancreatic cancer, because I think right now it's the second deadliest cancer in Australia and quickly becoming number one. So, and that's the amazing thing about Paul is how much more life he got than expected. I think he was told only a couple of months when he initially got the news, and he got 21 months, which is just amazing. So that's what the Dare to Hope campaign is, and I will link it again, but be sure to get around it. And I think there is a documentary coming out sort of showcasing Paul's struggles over the last couple of years, so I'm not sure when that's coming out, but I'll definitely tweet that and share it when it does. But yeah, just privileged to be at the day yesterday, and again, always my condolences to Harry, my good mate, and the family. So we'll get to the team. It's 2,526, which again, I've just been having good weeks recently, which is sort of going up like 1,000 spots every round, and it's refreshing. I released the season review video when, of course the season's not even over, about a month or so ago around the buys, and I think I was sitting at about 15k back then, and sort of going through the mistakes or changes that I would make to what I've done this year. But I seem to be making a late charge. Of course, it's not over yet. There's 5 rounds to go, and hopefully can keep pushing. But for someone that didn't start Will Brodie, never got him, didn't get Wits early, although I did eventually end with him, and someone who's just had a lot of injuries and trades. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have. Everyone's in the same similar boat, but just a lot hasn't gone right this year, and still to be it's not the best rank in the world, but to be hopefully pushing for a top 1k. I know it's still pretty tough from here. I think about 300 or 400 points off, so still possible. Maybe it's more. I think it might actually still be a bit more points than that, but yeah, still to be sort of pushing towards the end. I'm happy. Still got 3 trades left. It might be 2, but we'll get to the team and see how we went. So yes, that is correct. I did, interestingly enough, VC Jack Sinclair. I just thought, I remember the Dogs game against the Cats. I know Stewart got concussed that game, but he was looking like, I think he was on 40, 50 at quarter time, and he was heading for a monster score. Just basically the Dogs entries inside 50 haven't been too great this year, and Sinclair's someone that, we saw that game style. It's just stupid how many uncontested marks they're taking, and if it wasn't for, he had a pretty poor first quarter. He got a lot of the ball, but he didn't hit many targets, and I think half time was on about 50 or something, or maybe not a great score, 44, something like that. Then he had a pretty massive second half. I think Saints sort of came back a bit, but it was kind of dead and buried by then. But he could have scored more is what I'm trying to get at. So I don't think it's the best thing for them to be doing, playing that sort of way, the Saints. But for Sinclair, it's just he's going to get a lot of footy and the chance to score big every week. So look, I just took it 133. Of course, it would have been better on Bont, but took the score and been pretty happy with Sinclair since I brought him in. Dawson was on about 100 at 3/4 time, and good old Matty Nix decided to throw him forward again for the last quarter to try and win the game for him. I think that's his thing. He go when it's a tight game, just throw Dawson forward and I think he just prays. Hopefully something happens, but I think he only got 1 or 2 touches in the last quarter, and in a close game like that, a lot of scaling happens, as we know, and he lost some points really just for not touching the footy. So bit annoying. Got the tag last week, and then this happened this week, but still believe in Dawson. He plays a great role most of the time, but he can still score forward, of course, but a lot has to sort of go right or has to go your way with teammates up the field, and the Crows just sort of weren't able to get it done. So yeah, happy with Dawson though, of course, as a starting pick. Since round 1, he's been awesome. Sis just got out a good score again. I was at the game, but I wasn't watching too much of it, and he was playing a bit more lockdown on Darling, and then I saw him on Waterman at times, and I saw like Scrimshaw on Darling at one point, and I was thinking, geez, Scrimmer, he's playing a bit up his size there, but wearing the long sleeve, Sis, he got it done in the end with another 114, which is pretty much bang on his average. The next kid, I don't know what my title for this video is yet, but I guess it's got to be about Nicky Dacos again. I think he's been in my thumbnail twice over the last 3 weeks, but he's got to be in there again. He's just an unbelievable player for his age, doing what he's doing. 40 and 3, and all the goals were massive at important times, especially the last couple were quite late, and it's just a ridiculous player. His cleanliness, especially in the wet, is just unbelievable, really. I think there was an article from Cal Toomey or something saying that when he was young, he used to get his old man to get him down to the park, even when it was raining, just to practice his touch. And like a kid that's got that sort of dedication from a young age, it obviously shows just how talented he is. So waiting for my money, because I put 100 on him to win the Rising Star at the start of the season. I think at $5. So $1.01 now, I think. So it's about, I think they just pay us out, I reckon. But he's just been unbelievable. And look, JD will soon tell me tonight it's been lucky that I've been able to hold on to him, but it was always my plan to hold on to him for as long as possible. Of course, the big scores happening later in the year, opens it up to be called a lucky pick and lucky result. And of course, look, the monstrosity of the scoring he's had. I think he's 122 5-round average is of course pretty crazy, but he was number 1 pick for a reason. He actually wasn't because of the father-son, but he was the best player in the draft for a reason, really, and highly touted. So just finds the footy at will, but he doesn't waste a possession. So unbelievable. He's not going anywhere. He's clearly pushed himself ahead of probably Hewitt and Short. I was tempted not to say Hewitt there, but Hewitt hasn't been too amazing probably for the last month. Just sort of ticking along. But I can't really say much more. It's been unbelievable. Hewitt, sort of had a good second half after a pretty quiet first one. Didn't watch too much of the game, but he sort of came good in the second half. And then Shorty just playing a bit more forward than you would have liked. I think we got a few of the mids back, like Koch, and Sonzi played his debut, but Shorty wasn't too much in the midfield. Still found enough of the footy sort of around the ground. I think he's sort of playing half forward and then sort of pushing up to the contest to try and get the feed outs from the inside ball winners. But look, we didn't even win much of the ball on the inside. North probably got the better of us there, and then got the better of us on the day, which I won't really want to speak too much about. But I think Shorty's, if you were looking for one to upgrade, I guess a lot of people have Crisp, so it'd be hard still probably to decide between the two. Issue is, I think, I guess Crisp is actually sort of dropping in price as well. It's obviously you probably want Stewart. It would be great to get one of them to Stewart if you could in one trade, but obviously you're going to need quite a lot of money to do that. So if you had 4 or 5 trades and you could make 2 to upgrade Short or a Crisp, and then get maybe a rookie cover as well at the same time, like Cully or Carmichael, then I think going from 5 to 3, I would definitely do 4 down to 2. Maybe just assess your team a bit and see if you're comfortable going down to 2 for the last 5 weeks. But I'm doing it, so I think it's more than reasonable to do so. But just just the role change. I know we'd love Shorty back behind the ball, but I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe Dimmer finally switches it back now, because I think Rioli wasn't too great. I mean, he's been in good form. But yeah. Anyway, Massimo, I think I saw play forward in the VFL and might have even hurt himself in the VFL as well. So Thompson, I don't know if he's coming back. I think our defence bench cover is pretty muddled. So the good thing is, I think a lot of these guys are pretty durable. I don't see anyone here that is injury prone in my back line, but of course you can't predict a lot of things. All it takes is a little head knock or concussion or something. So annoyingly, if we get if we even get an injury, a 1 weeker or obviously 2+, you're definitely trading. But even I think a 1 weeker in the next couple of weeks, I'll probably just have to trade, because I won't have any cover down there, which is annoying. Thought Massimo would be good cover. And of course, when we picked Thompson, we thought he'd be playing out the season, but got injured. So, yeah, a little bit annoying, but we'll have to just play it by ear. In the midfield, Took and Zeret, they played in the same game. I didn't catch any of that. I was sort of, as I said, out all yesterday. But, Bombers getting the job done again. They've been in good form. So Merritt was good, I guess, and Took, I think he was sort of the only one with a respectable score from Gold Coast. So yeah, like I said, I didn't watch too much of the game. I have to ask JD about it tonight. But Neil, I saw a little bit of, not too much. I saw he's worked his way through an Lockie Ash tag. Got a respectable score. Track, I didn't watch this game either, but he was clearly best for the D's in their win. Use the ball pretty well from what I can tell, so that's a rare thing for Track, but when it happens, this is what he can do, and if he did it more consistently, he would get big scores week in, week out. So it is the annoying side of Track, but when he puts it all together, he can play unbelievably well. So good from him. McRae ticking along again. I think a few people VC'd him, and I would have taken it as well if I did, so can't be too upset with that. Andy, so if you saw on Twitter, and I sort of talked about it a lot last week, I was trading Cripps, and then it was just a choice between Mills and Brayshaw, and went with Andy, and for whatever reason, his first midfield stint for about 10 minutes or 12 minutes, whatever, just couldn't find the ball, didn't touch it once, came back on in the last couple of minutes, got a 1 or 2 touches, finished, I think it was on 9 at quarter time, so that's a difference between sort of a 110 and what he got here in 96, just that first midfield stint, he couldn't find the footy, and I guess sometimes it happens. But he scored 90 points the next 3 quarters. So if he did that in the first quarter as well, then 30, even just a 20 in the first quarter, then he would have ended up with a pretty good score. Of course, the 96 looks annoying, but hey, he's still in the positives from the Cripps trade. So I'm still. Obviously, Mills would have been better for week 1. We'll see how it goes this week. I mean, I'll have the VC on Brayshaw, no doubt, against the Tigers. Spoiler alert, but I think Mills got a good run. Brayshaw, sort of, I do like him. I owned him for pretty much all of last year, so a bit of bias maybe, but we'll see how that goes. Won't beat myself too much up on it. I think Brayshaw can finish the season strong. Freo obviously pushing for a top 4 spot, so we'll see how that goes. Steele, had him for a few weeks, finally got that, not monster, but big and good score that you want from him, a good 130, so very happy with that. And then Cogs, who I just shifted into the midfield this week to use as Clary cover, but of course he's not the direct cover, but had to put him in the midfield for a week, and got a 95 out of him. I think he had 10 tackles, which is good, just as Cogs does. Didn't use the ball too well, from what I can tell. So, I think Clary should be back this week, they're saying. And then Owens maybe gets a game now with the Saints struggles if he's fit. I believe he might have been injured still, but I guess we'll find that out tomorrow. And then Mountford's just the old loop. Witsy, I think Freco tweeted it today. I didn't check myself, but I think I've had him for about 5 or 6 weeks, and 120 average before we got him in, and then around the buys when I got him in, I think he's averaged about 95 since then. So, look, the rucks have been a disaster this year, I'm sure, as everyone knows, and Witt's getting in for about 620k or whatever it was at the time hasn't been too hot. So, really, I mean, Gorn came back this week, was pretty bad, probably carrying an injury. Nank got his ton out, but I think the best ones are like obviously Shrek, who's been pretty good without being too great either. He just couldn't get the footy or didn't find much of the footy on the weekend for whatever reason, but was still dominating the hit-outs. Yeah, like there hasn't just been many options or preferred options to have. Like, stupidly, you're probably best having bloody Goldie at R2 at the moment. Like, I think that's probably what the best teams for the stretch home have had, or or like even DC, and just have another forward. Like, I prefer to have DC in the ruck and Libba instead of Wits, but not to be. So, is what it is. Just have to stick it out. Hope they don't get injured, and yeah, who knows what the ruck line will be like next year. I'll talk about it in the trades, but yeah, Rowan with Paddy Ryder looked to be out for the season, could be an option. So Teakle should be back this week. I just saw as well, which is good news for cover wise. Might try and loop him with Tim English or something, but that should be good for cover reasons. So that's good. Yeah, the Bont, can't really say much about him. This is just one of those classic Bont games that were just unbelievable to watch. He couldn't do any wrong. Was marking everything, hitting every target. Inside 50, kicked a goal, of course, and just one of those Bont games where you sit back and enjoy the show. It's just it's crazy what it can do sometimes when he's on, and we just hope to see it more often. But yeah, I think with Baz back. And obviously Bruce in. I know Norton was out, but with both of them in, he'll be locked in that midfield. And now with the Tigers dropping a couple of games, there's an 8 spot ups for grabs, and they're right there. So should have a strong finish. Same probably can't be said about this man, Timmy English, who's just been pretty much a disaster trade in. The Heaney to English trade, I thought, was just going to be so many positive points, and it hasn't been required. Heaney's been pumping out actually some decent tons the last couple of weeks, whereas English has been concussed, then was out for another week, then came back, and then he scored a 90, and then now the 50, and it's just been pretty much a disaster. So if you didn't get him for that 150 it was before the bye, which I didn't, we got him after that week, he's pretty much been a disaster. So didn't even gain a score during the buys, of course, because just was swapping Heaney to him when they had the same buy. So it's really been poor. Of course, I wish I had Libba in here, and I don't. So been really disappointing English. Hopefully he can pick it up, but I think we need Norton back, Sweet back out of the side, and then him just to play better. So I think fingers crossed. Luke Parker, been okay without setting the world on fire. For me anyway, I think I've had him for about a month, 3 or 4 weeks, and I think it's just the 1 ton. I think a few 90s. So again, of course, another one I wish was Libba, but isn't. But not much you can do now. Just hope he finishes the season strong again. Sydney as well, probably pushing for a top 4 spot now with that big win. So you think he goes hard to the end of the season. DC, disappointing. It is a bit annoying. He played well, just a lot of clangers, gave away 50, and sort of same with Dawson in a close game like that. You just lose big points for that. And then weirdly, he came on, I think, for like rotation with 10 minutes to go for his rucks in, or maybe 8 minutes. Rucked for a couple of minutes and then went straight back to the bench. I'm not sure if there's something wrong there, because that was only like a 2 or 3 minute stint. As far as I could tell, he didn't even spend any time forward. He sort of went on, rucked a bit, and then went straight off after 3 minutes and sort of finished the game out. And DC was on the bench. Maybe it was a matchup thing. It sort of started heaving down with rain. Maybe, McRae didn't want too many tools out there, so that's possibly a reason. But, unfortunately, for the great work DC has done for me, I think he has to make way this week. He's going to be dropping some cash like he already has. And then I just need to get to someone now while I can, because with $100 in the bank, you can't go up to anyone. So while I can afford some decent options, I think I'll take the chance to get rid of him now. Dunk's a bit annoying, but we know the role is just the reason. He's playing a lot forward, and when he can't spend majority of the time in the midfield trying to do his grunt work, he's stuck down forward trying to get his hands on the ball, and of course just being in the forward line, it doesn't always work for you. So everyone's got him. We'll be keeping Dunks at the end of the year, and that's pretty much as simple as that. even if he's 85, 90 average from here, we just take it as long as he doesn't miss any games, which I think George said apparently during the week he didn't train, so maybe he's carrying something, hopefully not. And then the king, Paul Curtis. I mean, this, if anyone was going to kick goals against the Tigers, I know a lot of others did. Cam Zerha to be exact, but if there was anyone that I was happy watching a goal go through against my Tigers, it was Paulie Curtis, because I mean, put the game aside on the weekend, he's just been awesome ever since I started watching him. Ever since he came into the team this year, his calmness around the ball, the effort he gives. He's skillful. He goes for marks. He's good overhead. He's strong. For a kid, he's unreal. So really like what I've seen from him. I think they've signed him up already a couple of weeks ago for a few more years. So good to see him commit, and it was good for North, honestly, to get a win. I know you never want to be the team to lose to the worst team in the league, especially a team going as badly as North. But it does make you happy seeing that happen. Because they've just been through so much, they haven't won since round 3 or 4 or whatever. So, of course, the coach just gets sacked. We lost to them 2 or 3 years ago with the same thing when Brad Scott was gone. So, I've experienced it before. Nothing Richmond does will surprise me. It never will for the rest of my life. I spent 20 years expecting it before any success. So, when it's happening now, I'm sort of numb to it by this point. So, yeah, Paulie was great, and he's sort of our cover for sort of the forward mids, I guess, really, because, he covered Clary this week for me and was great. So very, very happy with that. Now, I've been going for a while, longer than I thought, but DC, unfortunately, with how much he dropped and with how well Toddy Goldstein went, I cannot afford it. Rosie, I'd even consider. He's been awesome for the last probably 6 to 8 weeks. Himmelberg, I would go as well if I could afford it, if I had cash in the bank. They're 2 guys I would look at. Of course, Libba goes without saying, but he's bloody 600k now, so we just have to forget about that. Can't get these guys. Goldie is the one I really was looking at and hoping that it would just fall into place for me, but he went well, went up about 3k, and then with how DC went, he dropped too much money to be able to afford that switch. So annoyingly, I could have done it last week, I guess, and of course would have netted me some points. Probably in hindsight should have been done, but when I was sort of turfing Cripps the same week, I didn't really want to make 2 of those luxury trades in 1 week, go down to 2 trades. And that's sort of before you know that you've copped any injuries. So maybe if DC played a bit later in the round and I could see most games and, say, fingers crossed, haven't had any injuries, then I maybe would have done it on the Sunday, with only a couple of games left. But with DC playing the second game of the round, just had to back him in and hope that he went well and held cash, but wasn't to be. I mean, he still turned up in fantasy, which of course isn't what we play, but it's always a good sort of just point to gauge how sort of well they went or how involved they were anyway. But yeah, as I said, didn't use the ball particularly well. A few clangers, gave away that 50, and then in the close game just got scaled poorly. So Goldie ended up dominating. He's gone up too much. I can't get him. So the one man I'm looking at, and I can afford it just by $2,000 or even less actually, is Dylan Moore. So the last 2 weeks, I'll bring it up quickly, he has pretty much turned into a centre bounce midfielder. So he played a tiny bit in there in the last month, the back end of the last month. And then sort of coinciding with Warple getting injured during round 16, Dill has been thrust into the midfield and spent about 60% of the centre bounces in there. And of course, that's not direct correlation to your midfield time, but it's a good indicator. And from what I saw yesterday, he was much involved. He still got forward, kicked a goal because he's obviously still going to spend some time there when he's resting. Connor Nash just sort of dropped off a bit. Even Titch 35% yesterday. I mean, Sammy Mitchell has clearly shown what he wants to do with Titch, and that's really sort of sort of phase him out, really. He wants to give the young kids a go. I think George said that Dilmore was drafted as sort of a midfielder, played it as a junior, and then it sort of revived his career in 2020 or end of 2021 as a forward, and now Sammy Mitchell is throwing him into the midfield. So, look, 2 weeks isn't a huge sample, of course. Obviously, going for this pick, you sort of just hope it continues for the last 5 weeks. Be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if it did revert for whatever reason and went back to a bit less, and he started playing more forward. But Warple is out for the year. Ward is back, Josh Ward, and he got the Rising Star nomination, I think, and played a lot of wing and got quite a lot of the ball. So maybe he gets his way back in at some point and reduces it. But clearly the number one is Jai Newcomb. He gets most of them, and then Jager O'Meara. They're the two for the season, and then Titch sort of was always that third, but it's starting to look like it's still more at the moment. He's in there at the start of every quarter from what I was watching, and then sort of Titch and Connor Nash are those rotational pieces. So I think I'm happy enough to go for it. He plays very well when he's in there. He's got forward craft, of course, so he's always looking for goals. But he tackles, he takes marks, and all in all, he's good to watch. And a quick story from yesterday is Cherie and the family got given the choice of one of the Hawthorn players to win the most courageous award, and it was after Paul, named after Paul. So, Harry was asking me, being the nuffy of sport I am, and he knows how much I follow it. Harry had a AFL career of his own. He didn't play too many games, but he's not as into it as someone like I am. Clearly, we play these fantasy games. You are into it more than the average person. But he was asking me, and Sheree was asking me who I thought to give the award to, most courageous, and we decided to go with Dill. So Sheree went down and awarded it to Dill, and he wears number 13, which is the number that Paul wore, and he was very grateful to win the award. And I just love the resurrection of his career. His story's great. Was going to get delisted at the end of, I think, 2020 it was, and just completely turned his form around, and is one of the best. When he's forward, I think he's rated as one of the best general forwards in the game. So thrown into the midfield now. I hope and think that it will continue for the rest of the season, just to sort of see what he's got. And the best part is, I think, about it is Hawthorn's fixture. So North this week is obviously a great matchup. And you'll be able to see it on the side here. North, St Kilda, who obviously have been struggling a bit recently. Gold Coast, who, they're hard to read, Gold Coast. I think that's in Tassie as well. Yeah, it is. So you probably fancy the Hawks down there in Tassie. Tigers at the G, we're easy to score on if you're playing in the midfield, and then the Dogs, who are obviously probably the hardest matchup there. So it's a pretty good run home. And just for all the ones I can afford, which I'll quickly filter it to now, if we take him out, I think he's the clear number one here. I'm not going back to Heaney. Just not something I love Isaac, but it's not something I want to do. Treloar's playing sort of half back, and he's always got his injury worries. And then it's like Tex, Taranto is the next one there. And that's it. Like Mitch Duncan, I don't trust, and even still, Stewart's back soon, and we'll probably take that role back. Kitty Coleman, hasn't he been unreal? That would have been good if we could have started him. And that's just a lot of like sort of your general forwards, small forwards, key forwards. Not something I'm sort of up for or want to go down. So I think he's clearly the best option here. DC unfortunately is going to start dropping cash, and then by the time Grundy's back, it'll be too late. He'll be too little money. And I won't be able to afford anyone good. But we'll definitely talk about it on the podcast tonight. But Rowan Marshall, Paddy Ryder has just been today said to be out for 4 to 6, which obviously sort of falls, the end of the season sort of falls in the middle of that. So, if he's out for 4 games and then they're probably not in finals contention, does he come back for the final round? Probably not anyway. So I would say he's out for the season. 460k, do I trust Rowan? Rowan was huge I mean, if you remember playing back in 2019 when he sort of first got the role, came in and played number one ruck and averaged about 120 for me over the pretty much post the buys, and was awesome. He sort of, Paddy Ryder come across and he hasn't really got that role since. He's obviously had it in games here and there, but when Paddy's fit, obviously he sort of just splits it with him and plays forward. It would give him money in the bank, which is obviously a lot better to have, 40, 50k in the bank compared to 100, or like I've now got 1,000. It doesn't really leave you with much options if you have to make a trade for an injury or whatever. So getting sort of, I'd get probably 50k in the bank. It would be ideal for, one of my final two trades, but I think I just like Dill more with the role, with the fixture, and he's probably one that I just trust more than Rowan. Rowan has had his injury niggles this year as well, mind you, so that's something I'm also sort of worried about. So it's a tough call. If you can't afford anyone or you don't like Dill, I think he's probably the next best option below sort of these prices if you are a DC owner and looking to trade him like me. So, of course, I'd love to go up to the other options, but can't be done. So that's enough from me. I'll quickly just set up the team, how it will look. So you guys can have a look. We'll get Cogs back down the forward line. So Paul's our sort of, forward mid cover. Teagle could be back, which is awesome. Hopefully Owens is to sort of be the mid cover. And then, unfortunately, unless Massimo makes a recovery and gets back into the team, which is hard now because they're winning, we don't have any defence cover. So Brayshaw will be the VC this week. The C is a little bit harder. I think right now I'd like Steele the most against West Coast. It is the last game of the round, so you're always a bit nervy going down that path. But I think that's how I'm setting up for this week. So, look, it's not the best team in the world. It could be better, of course. Probably the glaring miss is Rory Laird, who I just couldn't get at the price for what I could afford. So, annoyingly, won't have him. He's been absolutely unreal, setting the tackle record on the weekend. And then probably having, maybe a Goldie instead of Witts or something, which is annoying. And then Libba. So probably 2 or 3 picks that are misses, but it's hard to have them all and hit on everything. And if you do, then you're probably ranked right up there and in contention. So longer one than expected tonight, but hope you enjoyed. We will be doing the podcast later on, and I'll see you for that one there. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers. Got the mojo deals, we been tripping like pulling out the coupe at the lot.